What's up, world? Welcome back to I Mix What I Like. Again, I'm Jared Ball, happy to be your host. Big shout out to Carlos at Deculturation for hosting this conversation and more that we had on his platform last night. The link to the whole thing is in the show description. This is a relatively short excerpt of a very long and fun conversation that we had. And with his permission, I wanted to highlight and share just a clip of it, a section of it, as a commemoration to Glen Ford and his brilliant analysis, but also to the shortcomings of the white liberal left, and also as a shout out commemorative to the fun that I think we all had on Deculturation last night. So again, salute to Carlos. Please check his platform, subscribe over there, and definitely see the entire discussion we had and his previous debate with Sam Seder and Emma Vigland more recently, and all these other conversations that he's having over there, and some of which will end up over here sooner than later. So this commemorative look at a classic debate or discussion rather, between Sam Seder and Glen Ford, still so relevant today, and again, also a lot of fun. So again, salute to Carlos, rest in power to Glen, and peace to you, only because we know you're willing to fight for it, as Fred Hampton used to say. And I'll catch you next time. Enjoy.
And so, can you tell me like what
I'm sorry to
what
cut
the
it
best
again, but is
outcomes
there
from a
like
left perspective?
is there an editor? Like, I would even put in money. I would put $5. I got five on an editor who would go back and find all of these clips of all of these people from what is this, 2008 to 2024, with this exact same. There's got to be like a supercut that could be made of this exact. Look, which is going to give us the most likely. It's either Romney or Obama. It's either, that's all we had. Which is going to give more likely room for the left? What did he say for the left? Did he actually say the left or
Oh, it's
liberal?
gonna get worse. Yeah, for the
Oh
left
wow! All
row.
right, my
Yeah.
bad. Go ahead. All right,
No,
go
and
ahead.
then this is from 2012, I believe, right? Yeah.
Oh, this is
So
2012. So this is after. Wait, this is after 4 years
this
already.
is after 4 years.
Holy
Dr.
shit!
Ball, after 4 years.
For some
What
reason, I thought
excuse
this
is
was
there?
before the first one. My bad. Go ahead.
Oh,
Yeah, go
because
ahead.
it's so ridiculous. Because it's so
Yeah.
preposterous. That's why. Unless they re-uploaded,
Oh,
later on. But yeah,
right,
12 years ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
No
Okay.
excuse. All right.
Perspective would be, and
The
then
best outcome for a left perspective would be for there to be a left that acts like it's alive.
Woo!
The worst
Yes.
outcome from a left perspective is for the left to remain quiescent, dormant, looking quite dead. That would be the best outcome. What happens in the future will depend upon resistance to these two corporate parties. Nothing good comes out of either one of these formations, which answer to the same corporate masters.
well now from my perspective, just observing what has taken place over the past decade, let's say, that one of the things that I found during the Bush, or that I have sort of come to perceive in retrospect during the Bush administration, was that the left, in some ways, was subsumed by subsumed in some ways by sort of partisan opposition. And one of the things that I think that the Obama presidency has done is to at least stake out what is a genuine left position versus what is a partisan position. And frankly,
You mean an anti-war movement as opposed to an anti-Republican war movement? Is that what you
indeed,
mean?
and I'm and both also on and particularly on economic terms. I mean, the most relevant arguments I've had about why Social Security should not be cut have been with people who 6 years ago we were both arguing against President Bush's attempt to cut Social Security, to privatize it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious as to your perspective on that.
Well, there is no question that broadly speaking, the Occupy movement changed the conversation. That is, we had Obama and his Democrats speaking austerity, and of course the Republicans speaking austerity. And the voice that interrupted that dialogue of the same was the Occupy movement. And you are correct. For that kind of principled kind of dissent to arise under a Democratic administration, not masking itself as something else under Republicans, and not a move on kind of opposition that gets torn down and dismantled as soon as the Democrats in power. That is a good thing. That is cause for hope. Let's get some more of the same. But you seem to be saying then that the best chemistry for that kind of actual principled opposition is under a Democrat as opposed to a Republican?
I mean, I tend to believe that. I mean, because I saw 8 years of Bush, and the choices we had at the end of the day, essentially, in terms of by the time we get to January in the primary in 2000, I guess 8, is Edwards, Clinton, and Obama. Now, I was an Edwards supporter at that time, and he didn't make it past, I think it was January or February, and putting aside the implications of what would have come about had he made it beyond that, the choice, it seems to me that this rightward lurch, and to be sure, it wasn't just under it was handmaiden by Clinton and of course
who you also
Reagan,
told us
and
to
even
vote for.
Arguably Carter before that. Delivered us essentially a corporatist who was perceived, because of both, I think, his profile and some of his pronouncements, to be a at least semi-populist savior. And my fear is that under, contrary to an argument that I see out there by some, I'm not saying you're making this argument, is that 4 years of Romney will somehow bring about a more vigorous left in this country. And my experience has been it was the opposite.
Oh,
Sorry, just real quick. Sam Seder also still holds a grudge against Ralph Nader. So it's like,
of course. And then of course we saw,
Go ahead.
yeah, no, of course it's all Nader's fault. But of course the 8 years of Obama demonstrated that the anti-war movement was neutered while he was in office. So this idea that Sam Seder is defending is but again, the point is to frame Glenn and others like him as, oh, you're telling us to have a Republican be in office, and that would be better. You think it would be better under Trump? That's why, look at what we have now. That's the whole point of the tactic here. It's
always that. It's
irritating.
always, oh, you rather Romney? Oh, you rather Trump? And it's like,
and that's why I liked a few minutes ago when Glenn brilliantly did so what are you trying to draw the distinction between an anti-war left and an anti-war Republican left? Like, like which is the act, what are we? We're only anti-war when it's Republicans? Oh, okay. All right.
Exactly. And Obama, excuse me. Sam Seder was trying to highlight that, like, Obama kind of made the waters murkier with that, when in reality it's like, as we'll see shortly, and it's kind of funny that you mentioned that, Obama legitimized support for empire abroad in the Black community, something that had no white Democrat or Republican.
And Glenn wrote about this all the time. He talked about all the time how Black America had always been the cutting edge of a left critique, especially in the anti-war community.
Yeah, and
Obama completely messed that up.
And it's funny because like you could tell that Glenn's kind of like, using baby gloves here, like kind of just, oh yeah, playing along with it, when, as you highlight, like he was talking about this already. Not just that, the fact that Sam Seder himself is admitting defeat by saying, well, Clinton kind of started that, and I guess you go back to Carter as well. And I'm like, exactly, you're proving the point.
That's the point.
Reality.
And that's why we should stop doing this and break this cycle. But yeah.
But then, you're gonna have a bad guy in office.
I don't predict that it will bring about a more vigorous left. There's just a chance for it. You see, there will be no progressive revival if black folks are not deeply involved in it. By my reckoning, and every 5 years or so, I do a calculation to satisfy myself as to what percentage of the population is reliably progressive, and it always came out to about half of that proportion is black. There is no possibility of a successful, or vital rather, progressive movement without the active participation of the most historically progressive group in the country, and that's black folks. And as long as Obama is there, black people will be neutralized. The black folks are less relevant today politically than they have been in 40 years. And that's because they make no demands, and they make no demands because they don't want to embarrass this first black president. So yes, you have these stirrings, such as the Occupy Wall Street movement, but overwhelmingly a white movement. But you don't have those stirrings among black folks, and you won't as long as this guy's there.
But isn't the
what do you remember when Kamala Harris got interrupted by pro-Palestinian anti-genocide protesters, and what was the line? Excuse me, I'm speaking, or I'm speaking now, something along those lines. With what we're seeing now, what do you think she could have really gotten away with? Like, how bad do you think it would have been? Because I've seen people even speculate that we would have been cheering her on if she would have done the exact same bombing of Iran as like a girl boss energy.
Oh, absolutely. Oh no, it took me a second to catch up to your question, but yeah, absolutely. I think what Glen is outlining that happened under Obama would have gone maybe even into hyperdrive, considering that Kamala would have been coming in after Trump, who was seen at that time as being worse than I think George Bush was seen at the time Obama got elected. So the issue of being a first woman, being at least black enough, relatively speaking, I guess. I think, I could easily see that all that is still going on now from Palestine to Iran would be championed. All the people that posted that meme of the AI image of the black women sitting, sipping coffee while the world burned. I mean, I could easily see them like another version of that as they are congratulating themselves as Iran burns, or Palestine burns. They're like, but we did it, girl, ball, like that would be certainly the encouraged. Because it was being encouraged before she got elected. Before she lost the election, we were being encouraged to support all of that.
But in their defense, I'm sure people in Iran are anti-black, and I'm sure there's a lot of anti-black.
Sure. So they deserve it. Yeah.
They're asking for it.
Right. They're asking for it. And if they had been waving red, black, and green flags and supporting reparations, I'm sure they would, be faring better today.
I will say, I think that what Clinton did to Gaddafi, right? Sure, the material and the actual, the empire's need for that to occur, 100% is there, and that's a prominent aspect of it. But I do think she went out of her way to be in front of that and to take credit for it. She literally said, "We came, we saw him, and we killed him," or something along those lines.
Yeah,
for her presidential candidacy.
Absolutely. No, she
I'm
knew.
A woman, but I could get the job done.
and she knew, first of all, she knew she was going to win, and she just figured, I'll have this added support for my campaign when which I'm sure she thought would have only been an issue in running against the Republican, not her own party.
Exactly.
But absolutely, you're right.
Well, even Harris was
100%.
like, we're gonna have the most lethal military. I'm like, wait, when haven't we? What are you talking about?
She said that. She said explicitly nothing's going to change in the Middle East. The only thing she couldn't have at the time copped to in advance was supporting the bombing of Iran.
Right.
And
exactly.
but yeah,
she did say Iran is our biggest enemy.
So I stand corrected. You're right. You're right. Absolutely. I'm wrong again. Yeah. So she, I mean, yeah.
You mentioned having like creating clips of all this. I need to create one, and I've been wanting for Emma Vigeland, again, the co-host of the Majority Report, because she went out of her way to like try and wash the blood off of Harris's hands. But she literally said that we cannot know for sure. Very, very Boondocks coded, where it's like, we don't know what we don't know. She's like, we cannot know for sure that Harris is more committed to Israel than Joe Biden because of Joe Biden's long track record. And I'm like, well, yeah, he's older and he's been in politics longer. Of course, we can never, equate their commitment to Zionism because one has been doing it longer. Like, what are you talking about?
Wow.
And
look,
yeah,
people, if they haven't already, I do want to double down on that. They should watch your video of the exchange. I mean, as you pointed out in it, she immediately is, what is it? Clutching her pearls over the idea that somebody could be criticizing her position and Sam's position on Israel, and then she immediately, makes sure to frame the discussion under her defense of Israel's right to exist. Because if you say, and I've admittedly, I've over the years struggled in certain settings around this question, trying to avoid being seen as saying Israel does not have the right to exist, because you don't want to get caught. And you did very well with that. But she's immediately trying to set that frame, that how dare somebody be critical of us? And of course, Israel has a right to exist. Now you go and explain. now overcome all of that and explain whatever possible criticism you could have of our show here. And so I thought it was very telling the way her immediate. But I've always said for years, I mean, one of the reasons why I've never watched, or I should say rarely watched Sam Seder's show, even or listened to it from back in the Air America days, is that it's so easy for them to spend most of their time criticizing Republicans and right-wing YouTubers. It just makes it's just so easy for them to make fun of Tim Pool all day and Patrick Bet David and all of that, and Joe Rogan. It's super easy because their positions are laughable. I mean, those people are insane. But as soon as someone from the actual left spaces engages them, it becomes, as she I think demonstrated very clearly, like wait, we're the farthest left anybody intelligently could go. And therefore you have to be, as she tried to end up with you, anti-Semitic and all of that. Anyway, my bad. Go ahead. Yeah.
No, you're good. And thank you for that. I mean, I'm like, wait, are you pulling the anti-Semitic card? And she said, well, if the shoe fits. And I'm like, oh, you're slick, because you're not literally calling me anti-Semitic. You're hinting at it. You're signaling to your audience about it. And now you're still not willing to hold on to it by saying, yes, I think you're anti-Semitic. She's like, if the shoe fits. And this is kind of, I titled this about the propaganda of the online left. What you're saying is so accurate, because when I called in before to the Majority Report, and I think I was actually like blacklisted because I had to use a different phone number to call in to criticize them about their Zionist take. And that first time we got into it, and Sam Seder got offended because I said like about his MSNBC contract. And he does this thing where he kind of admits why I'm correct. He said, "Oh, well, I guess if you're taking the Chomsky approach about corporations only hiring people, media outlets only hiring people that are not gonna, transgress on, what is acceptable." I'm like, yes, that's literally what I'm saying, and that's who you are, and
But hasn't he acknowledged that he's too left for MSNBC, and that's why he doesn't get invited back?
I don't know. I mean, because Cenk Uygur does the
Yeah.
same thing. Cenk Uygur does the Union Buster Cenk Uygur, which by the way, all these like little, not little, they're 20 times my size, but the Humanist Report, Emma Vigeland has admitted to this. Others have admitted to this on the left that when TYT workers tried to unionize, they took the side of Cenk Uygur.
Oh, wow.
Because Cenk Uygur's whole line was, "Oh, this is a political hit job," because at the time he was running like some local election, and I'm like, wait, even if it was a political hit job, wouldn't that benefit the workers over their boss? Well, Emma Vigeland admitted that she was concerned about not rocking the boat, and she was concerned about her career. And then she's like, "Well, I wasn't making much money at the time." Her parents are like crazy rich lawyers. Like,
Yeah, but she wasn't making much money.
right. Excuse me. Right. You're right. My bad. You're right.
But to your point, that's look. I don't know. That's why, But to your point, that's why workers should unionize.
Yep. Exactly.
Oh.
Literally, right?
Yeah. You're not making much money. Duh. Yeah.
All right.
Isn't that problem of co-optation it seems to me, I guess my argument is that under a Republican administration, that co-optation takes place not just amongst black people, but also that other half of their sort of more progressive cohort, in that group of progressives. I mean, I see sort of just broader co-optation that ends up getting sort of channeled into a partisan mix. I mean, it seems to me what has to happen is that that part of the black community that makes up that progressive or truly left movement in this country needs to sort of assert themselves, as well as the remaining people in that cohort have to assert themselves in the context of a democratic president, that we have a left that is actually sort of growing up not as a function of partisan politics, but as a function of ideology.
Well, who could argue against that? What I'm telling you, we in the Black is Back Coalition organized in 2009 to make the kind of public statement that not all black folks had drunk the Obama laid, but we see it in the stats that still he gets overwhelming support, and that is not going to change. But you have maneuvered me into talking about what are the prospects here for the left. I do want to go back and say what Obama has actually accomplished, which is evil, is scary enough. And it is more in some fundamental ways than that which Bush accomplished, certainly, and which I think any Republican could have accomplished. So there is reason to oppose Obama based upon his actual practice and evil accomplishments. I don't know how you best, how you pull a bigger one than preventive detention, but I'm sure there are ways.
How about lying us into a war where we kill 100,000 plus civilians?
Sure, those possibilities are endless,
and just notice, 12 years ago, lying us into a war was bad enough to resist at all costs. Now, in 2025 or 2024, a genocide apparently isn't enough.
But so first of all, and Glenn was, I think, relatively polite there. First of all, Sam Seder, with all due respect, the black left doesn't need your suggestion and advice for what to do. And in fact, the Black left had been doing the work that Sam was saying the Black left needed to be doing has been largely resisted or blunted in part because of what this so-called white left has been doing in producing waves of propaganda and analysis against radical politics, platforming preferred Black liberals. Look, I'm having admittedly a little bit of a personal triggered moment in remembering, for a time, there was a long time I took it upon myself to contact some supposedly white progressive outlets saying, why aren't you inviting Glen to your platform? You're acting like the farthest left Black analysis you can find is, at the time, I guess, Michael Dyson or something like that. Like, you're acting like this, the Sam Cedars, where I probably emailed or reached out to the Majority Report at the and was saying, like, you're acting like there is no room or no one farther to your left or to the left of your favorite Black person than so that was one thing. I was there at the founding of the Black is Back coalition and was aware of how difficult it was for Omali Yeshitela, Glenn Ford, Margaret Kimberly, Bruce Dixon, to a lesser extent myself, to get invited to these spaces to offer up another version when Sam and others could find, again, their preferred, it seems like he's not improved over these years, they could find their preferred Black spokesperson. So there's a point I'm forgetting. There's something else I wanted to say, but maybe it'll come back. That's why 2 hours needs to be roughly a limit, because I start to
I feel you.
But nah, it'll come back. But there was something else that I wanted, that clip was wanting me to remember. But anyway,
Well, whenever you're ready to tap out, also like it's all good.
No, I want to make it through this interview at least. I'm gonna make it. Now I'm here. Now
sure.
now I gotta
Yeah, and it's funny because like at first people in the comments were saying like, why is this guy like talking so much? Doesn't he have Dr. Ball here to hear his thoughts? And I'm like, oh, I should have started. I thought I said that like we were covering your interview with Pancho. So I'm like, well, I kind of have to talk, but I love the fact that we went from that to then hearing your discussions now to watching Glen Ford together. It's like, it's awesome.
So look, as I told you before, as a mechanism for, I don't know if I said it this way, as a mechanism always to relax myself, I just remind, like, this doesn't have to be, we don't have to get this exactly right. Like, we can always have another conversation. Like the beauty of if there is one of YouTube, of this podcast, we could just do this again another time. I would like to revisit this question of Chicano Zionism. But I admit, I just would, maybe need to read some things or get some others involved in the conversation. But anyway, I don't feel like you've overtalked, so I don't know if I'm enjoying this. This is, in this part right here, this is all, despite what I said about the trigger warning, this is all great.
No, and I love the fact too that like we said, your relationship with Glen Ford, that you haven't seen this video, the fact that we both don't like Sam Cedar because he's the epitome of a white liberal, but also like that you were there, literally you said you were there at the founding, like
yeah, I mean, I remember, I was I kind of remember the because again, up until I don't know 2015, 2016, 2014, somewhere around there, I was very close with Glenn and Bruce, and I was there with Glenn when it went from, when he moved from Black Commentator and started Black Agenda. Okay. In fact, Peter Gamble, who was the sort of white editor and money behind Black Commentator, tried to get me to take it over when Glenn said he was leaving. And I was like, nah, I'm with Glenn. Like, I'm out.
Yeah.
So like, Glenn, ever since we met in the early 2000s, Glenn was a very important figure to me, and so I was always trying to rock with him and support his work. And because I started working with him at Black Agenda, and that's even saying too much. I was a relatively low level contributor to Black Agenda, but because of that relationship, I was around when he got invited spaces. I often got invited as sort of the backup or whatever. So, and when and our association got me invited into the Black is Back coalition when he and O'Malley started it, and as he said, that was the point. To not only as a rallying cry for Black people, but as a reminder to the rest of the world, like, not all of us are suckered by this Obama thing. Like, get out of here. So yeah.
Well, I think a big reason that, because you mentioned earlier, like, you never see the Majority Report have Glen Ford on again. You never see him have like real, radical Black figures that would actually call out their cooperation and allegiance to the Democratic Party and larger the empire. The same reason that I think, Dr. Carr and other figures are upset at you is because your presence alone, especially if it's platform, demonstrates that they're fraudulent. How their positions are in alignment with empire, and you want to distance yourself as much as possible. I don't think Sam Seder hasn't interviewed Chris Hedges, who I have a lot of criticism, especially his anti-communism stuff, but I think he's one of the best writers, more accessible writers. And his book, American Fascism, the rise of the evangelical right, was ahead of its time. But the reason why he avoids people like that is because it exposes him. Even people like Chris Hedges, mind you, he was rubbing elbows with him during Occupy, but suddenly things switch up. The MSNBC money comes in, and it's different.
I mean, this is my point. Greg Carr was on panels with me and Glen Ford. Like, Greg Carr would have never said the stuff he's saying if Glen was still here. He would. I don't even believe he would have even with his relationship with Roland Martin, he would have never come out his mouth in this way, and he would have definitely never debated Glen Ford the way he sat down with me. Like, he would never have done that. So like, that's why I'm saying Greg Carr was in the room when Glen Ford and I debated Dyson and what's his man? I forgot the other dude's name. But Carr was on our side. Carr would have never.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying. Like, the change up, the switch up is crazy, and it's super frustrating. And worse, it's just wrong. The analysis is wrong. Like, maybe I could feel better if it's like, man, you switched up on me, but you're right. Like, your analysis is right. We don't have to be friends. But now it's like, we're not only not friends anymore, but your analysis is garbage. So it's like, there's no value anymore. Like it's like, that's what's so frustrating. Like, damn, like, yeah, we don't all have to be hanging out, but at least have a good analysis.
Yep.
We in the Black is Back coalition organized in 2009 to make the kind of public statement that not all Black folks had drunk the Obama laid, but we see it in the stats that still he gets overwhelming support, and that is not going to change. But you have maneuvered me into talking about what are the prospects here for the left. I do want to go back and say what Obama has actually accomplished, which is evil, is scary enough. And it is more in some fundamental ways than that which Bush accomplished, certainly, and which I think any Republican could have accomplished. So there is reason to oppose Obama based upon his actual practice and evil accomplishments. I don't know how you best, how you pull a bigger one than preventive detention, but I'm sure there are ways.
How about lying us into a war where we kill 100,000 plus civilians?
Sure, those possibilities are endless, and he's
it was just a matter of timing,
I believe,
right,
more effectively than the Republicans are.
I mean, I mean, I guess. I guess maybe. I mean, I just.
Woof.
I don't see.
It's so bad.
And by the way, I mean, yeah, I mean, Glenn is right. You know, posthumously, retroactively, Glenn is right that had Obama been in office in 2001, they probably wouldn't have had to lie about the war. They could have just said, you know, hey, we're going into Iraq. Welcome. And everybody been like, yeah.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah. You know, so yeah, I mean, and
Yeah,
to your point, now genocide doesn't matter. You were mad about a war, a
Yep.
so-called legal war, and now, you know, all right, yeah, all right.
No, I think the fact that he tries to, I don't know, like bypass 9/11, you know, being basically what allowed Bush to do whatever the hell he wanted. It's like, wait, if Obama would have had, you know, a terrorist attack, a domestic terrorist attack to that extent, are you are you serious? What he like you said, everything would have been go. Everything would have been go.
Yeah.
That. I mean, I for one just find it. I don't believe that Al Gore would have had us in Iraq in that way. Now, I'm not saying that Al Gore wouldn't have gotten us involved in other conflicts, but I don't see that, and maybe I'm blind to that. But at the same time,
No, we are looking right now at an offensive that is just as historically significant as 2003 in the Middle East. The war is
right.
on. The invasion of the military penetration of Africa is on. I think that.
but do you really think that Mitt
American
Romney is
aggressiveness
not
in
going
the
to
world
pursue this? You think that Mitt
U.S.
Romney's
aggressiveness in the world today.
But wait a minute. But I'm sorry to cut Glenn off
intense
here,
as
but
it-
that's not the point, Sam. The point isn't that Mitt wouldn't do it. The point is that Obama is more effective at having it done. So I mean, it's yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
No, that's literally the point of the article that brought this discussion about. But they can't. These liberals can't like wrap their head around it. They're like, well, Romney would have done it too. Yes, less effectively.
Less effectively and with more resistance and the need for more lies and more performance and all this other kind of stuff. Whereas Obama could just say, "Nah, man," and then again, I know. Well, I don't know. I've never seen. Even in the thumbnails and headlines, Sam Seder talking about AFRICOM, or I don't think even the African continent at all. So when Glenn mentions that, you know, you could see kind of Sam's like, oh shit, Africa. Well, who really gives a fuck about Africa? It's like, oh my goodness. Yeah, my bad. Go ahead. Yeah.
No, you're all good.
Wild. That's wild.
I mean, that was his face. I'm glad that you noticed it.
It was in 2003. But what he does is he uses proxies. He has air wars such as with Libya, so that there aren't lots of U.S. casualties piling up. He's very, very careful not to get involved in conflicts in which there would be massive U.S. casualties. But the damage that he is doing to peace in the world and to stability is on a par with Bush 2003.
I'm not sure I agree with that assessment, but do you really think that Mitt Romney is going to do any less? I mean, do you think
that Mitt Romney will meet resistance, and he's not going to do any more?
Okay.
Look at how that is. Glenn was a monster with the direct clarity, the succinct clarity. People, look, I have no evidence, obviously, but I know while you were talking about, we're over here getting weepy at Glenn's eulogy, I know they had a toast. I know people were like, thank God, I don't have to deal with this motherfucker anymore. I don't have to get emails from people like Jared about why you don't interview him. I don't have to suffer through these kinds of, exchanges. I know they were like, man, thank God. And we don't have to replace him with anybody else.
Exactly. 100%. Because he's so concise, he doesn't give you any wiggle room. And yeah, man.
And it's a hard calculation for either one of us to make in that instance. And so in when you look at something, let's say like
Well, I mean, he'll have stuff to build upon. He already has an Obama doctrine. If Americans aren't killed, it's not a war. He certainly will easily step into that. It's easier for Romney because Obama has
Indeed. I mean, I'm not doubting that, but it's also the trajectory, I think, of this country, regardless of Obama or not. I mean, I don't think that John McCain would have made it any more difficult, frankly, for Mitt Romney, in this alternate history to attack Iran, let's say.
I think that
if we hadn't already. But
I think the rulers of the United States made their move, rolled the dice in 2003 because they felt that they had to. They looked down the line and they saw the growing isolation of the United States, and they saw the United States could not compete and only stood a chance of not being washed into the dustbin of imperial history by using its military force. And Obama's doing the same thing and for the same reason. So, yeah, in that regard, they're the same. And I think they're behaving the same.
Now I know you have to go because I know we're bumping up against time here. But let me just touch on this. What do you think of the implications in terms of the Supreme Court? Because that's also one of the big issues on my mind. Is that do you think there is a difference between the picks, Obama's picks for the Supreme Court and Romney's picks? I mean, obviously we're speculating here, but presume there are two.
Yeah. In a word, yes. Although Obama's picks are a lot less, to use the word, liberal than other Democrats' picks might be. They kind of reflect him. But yeah, there's a difference. But if that is going to be the be all and end all to it, then we will always be slaves to the Democratic Party. If it's the Supreme Court, what about the Supreme Court? If that's the the final reason, then why do we even talk about elections? If that's the only subject.
Well,
yeah, Republicans pick worse Supreme Courts than Democrats.
How does it work that if Romney wins, we are not slaves to the Democratic Party in 2016? It seems to me that we become that much more, or 2020 for that matter, we become that much more disempowered in terms of the Democratic Party.
So wait a minute. Oh, this is gold. So Sam, you got your way. Obama won twice. And then all we got was a worse than Bush president in Trump, as some of us predicted. Said you're going to get Obama, and then all they're going to do is come back with something worse. And we're back with the same argument of we have to be slaves to the Democratic Party because at the end of the day, Kamala is less of a genocidaire than Trump. So this is exactly my point with the frustration with all this stuff. You had your way. Your guy won twice. And then you got Biden in there for a few years in between, and we're still doing the same thing. Damn, I'm so glad. This has made my whole week right here.
Oh, yep, that's dope. Look at his face, though.
I mean, and then Glen is right, and I wish I would have seen this before the debate I had with Greg Carr, because that was his argument. Kept coming back to federal judges and the Supreme Court judges. And it's like, but if that's right, I stipulate. I grant you that. Glenn is right. You're right. I give it to you. I give it to you. Republicans always pick worse Supreme Court judges. And what?
Yeah.
So what are we doing here? Oh, man.
But again, going back to Democrats giving Republicans what they want on a silver platter, they had opportunities to put, not just expand the court, which they've always been able to do, but to, nominate Supreme Court judges, and they're spineless. They don't fight for them. I mean, what's her discussing nickname? I'm blanking out on her name. The notorious.
RBG.
RBG, disgusting. So anti-black.
That was disgusting.
Anti-black that she was like, I'm not letting a black man replace me. That's the Democratic Party. And what happened? Croaks.
And what happens? And then dies and lets Trump in the... Absolutely.
Yep. But hey, Democrats. Oh, man.
They've always voted for the Democrat in every presidential election. And by the way, nobody, in case any of your listeners are misinterpreting, nobody here is advocating voting for Republicans. That's never the question.
But I mean, my feeling is that a vote for a third party or staying home at that point is essentially a default. If one was typically going to vote for the Democrat, would be a default half vote for Romney.
Oh.
And I'm telling you that I'm not afraid of Romney. Actually, I'm more afraid of Obama, because Obama is more effective than the Republicans, and he's more effective because we don't fight, and that's how we began the conversation.
All right. Well, I mean, fair enough. I mean, I guess my sense is that I've seen more fight from the genuine left. Well, I mean, I guess the argument is that it is disempowered or co-opted, I guess, the black community, and that's and I think that's very hard to argue against. We see a black community that is suffering from unemployment in far greater numbers than whites in this country, and yet President Obama is still going to count on them to come out and if not numbers at 2008, certainly close to it.
And according to the Pew polls and subsequent polls by others, we have the crazy situation in which black folks are more about the economy, more confident about their individual place in the economy, and more confident about black folks' fortunes and prospects economy than any other group, when black folks are worse off than virtually every other group except Native Americans. So that's the kind of delusion that is descended on the community, and that's not conducive to any kind of progressive revival. I've got to go.
Yes, well, I was going to say, Glen Ford, executive editor of the Black Agenda Report at blackagendareport.com. Thanks so much for your time. I appreciate you're giving me a couple extra minutes, and it's definitely it's been a very tough question for me, and this hasn't made it any easier.
And thanks for the opportunity, Sam.
All right.
And it must have gotten easier over the years. And I guess in 2024, black people were doing just so well that none of this was relevant for anyone to consider in the last election.
Yep.
Man, rest in power to Glenn, man. That's crazy, man.
100%.
That's crazy.
Relevant today. So relevant still. That's
every single thing. I mix what I like.